My mother was involved with my mother identified as a Buddhist, so we didn't really associate with the Wiccan type people. I don't know. They may have been involved with groups. I'm not aware of it. My mother and her Buddhist friends were attached to a Buddhist temple in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I only visited the temple once, but I remember it had a strange, sort of creepy, oppressive atmosphere that I didn't like. Just it gave me a bad feeling. And there was a woman, sort of priestess, who was in charge of it, and I really didn't like her. She was a very, scary seeming person. But as far as I know, the circle, the coven or circle or whatever, was the abortion clinic. That was the group. They did ceremonies together as a group. I don't think they had outside attachments. I think that was just the group that people who worked there got attached to. There was one woman who annually got pregnant every spring and had an abortion every fall. That was, a big sort of ritual thing that they all did. That's the first I heard about it. As I remember asking my mother, like, why is she getting pregnant on purpose if she doesn't want to have a baby? And, why is she waiting to have an abortion until fairly late? And why does she do this every year? And my mother kind of didn't want to give me the full answers about those. And a lot of it was, you'll find out when you're older someday. When you've had an abortion, you can understand. I remember at the big annual pro-choice march in D.C., we went, and there was a group of pro-life counter-protesters behind barricades, and my mother grabbed me and shoved me up against the barricades and screamed in this one guy's face, "This is my daughter. She's the future of abortion. She's going to have an abortion today." Not today, but someday. And I was 12, and I was just sort of terrified about it. But it was absolutely expected that everyone would have abortions. I remember at the midterm elections party in '94, meeting a young woman who had just started who was a college student who had started interning at the clinic, and she was actually a single mom. She had a daughter she'd had in high school, who was like a toddler at that point. And I was talking to her at the party, and she was talking to this one guy who was another party guest, who was a lawyer for the ACLU. And she was, I was talking to her about him, like, oh, do you like him? He's cute. That's great that you came here with him. And I kind of viewed things very normally at that time, like, oh, he's cute. Is he your boyfriend? And she seemed kind of sad, and she said that she supposed it would be her turn soon. She hadn't had an abortion yet. She'd had a baby when she was pregnant as a teenager, and that if she was going to keep working at the clinic and be serious about working in the abortion industry, she was going to have an abortion, because they said that you had to be able to share in women's experience. So basically this guy at the party was offering to get her pregnant so that then she could have an abortion. And a month or so later, I talked to her again, and she said that she had just found out she was pregnant, so she was going to be having her abortion soon, and then she'd finally be part of the group. It was a couple years after that when I got pregnant in my first semester of college, and my mother insisted that I have an abortion, it was that woman's house where I stayed. And she was one of the women in the room. And by then, she was the one who was so excited, "Now you're part of the sisterhood, too." Because she remembered when I was young, meeting me and explaining to me about how she had to have an abortion to be part of the group, and now she was excited that I was 18 and I was going to have an abortion to be part of the group too. It was absolutely my mother's decision. I had actually made an adoption plan. I had talked to a pro-life counselor. My boyfriend didn't like the idea of abortion, didn't want me to abort his baby. My dad just felt it was my choice and said, whatever, it's your choice, whatever you choose is fine. If you want to have the baby, fine. If you want to have an abortion, fine. But you choose. Dad said he wasn't going to influence me either way. That was just one clinic. There's another one that's in Cleveland. This was in Toledo, Ohio. There's another one that's in Cleveland, Ohio, where the same doctor works and has some of the same staff. And the one in Cleveland is actually where I had my abortion, because my mother knew I wasn't into the spiritual aspect of things, and that I wouldn't want a ritual abortion or to be involved in any ceremonies. I made that clear. If you're going to make me have an abortion so you can be cool in front of your friends, fine. But I'm an atheist. I'm not going to do your witchy stuff. I'm going to have it in a medical clinic, and it's just going to be normal, okay? So it was as normal as possible. Obviously, a lot of her friends showed up and they had a party, but it wasn't a ritual. It was just a party. And the clinic where I had mine was just, it didn't look any different from a doctor's office.